What does the richest person you know do for a living? He owns a piece of code that a multi-billion euro company needs to run and licenses it out to them. I love my life, but oh, how I want to be him. I work at a global fashion company, and for 20 or so years we relied on an algo that a consultancy firm, 3 guys, had developed. In the original contract we signed, the consultancy firm were to help us with the web traffic data since we didn't have a proper IT department at that time. Turns out the wording in the contract sucked, and we had signed over the actual data ownership to these guys, so they actually owned all of our web traffic data. They refused all offers we made to buy them out, void the contract, and we had to buy back our own data for 20 plus years, paying them ridiculous amounts of money every year. Same here. Went to high school with him, he wrote some code, something to do with the efficiency of how graphics are rendered. That he sold to a company that starts with an N and designs GPUs back in late 90s. I don't know how much he got, I just know that he retired at 23. I met a man who wrote the code that became the industry standard for auto insurance. He retired by purchasing a 300-acre plot in Colorado near Pikes Peak and was the sweetest person I've ever met, very down to earth. We stayed at an Airbnb on the property. He collected antique tractors and took me and my wife on a hayride with our son. Great guy. Great place to stay. Good for him. In an alternate reality, I hope I'm that blessed. Owns a company that goes in and strips down stores that have shut down for whatever reason. Removes any product left behind, all the display racks, all the equipment, etc. All that's left when his crews are through is the walls, floors, plumbing, and wiring. Not only does he get paid to remove all of that, he then gets to auction off the stuff he removed for more money and sells off any scrap metal as well. Similar vein, but strictly the removal, cataloging, disposing of if asked/required, and storage of all of the documents and computers of said closed down businesses. The guy started the company on a whim and became a multi-millionaire. Super cool and down-to-earth dude too. Back in the 80s, my mom briefly worked for a company that did similar work, but was a bit more predatory. Interestingly, they paid close attention to Trump's businesses because they always failed and could be snapped up cheap, and the parts sold off for far more than Trump sold them for. This is how I, as a junior high student in California, in the mid-80s, knew that Trump was a loser and a grifter, long before he ever got into politics. Owns a small regional construction company. They do mostly smaller projects in the 300K3M range, but he does a lot of them and a bunch at once. He makes somewhere in the neighborhood of 150K a month. He's also kind of a shit businessman and runs his firm like a corn dog stand. I'll never understand his success, frankly. He's rich in spite of his best efforts not to be. He's a great guy, though, generous to a fault. My uncle used to do that for strip mines in South Dakota. When the mine closed down, they were required to restore the land to the extent that's possible. So my uncle's business would let the mine company walk away and write him a check. They'd leave behind all kinds of valuable buildings, equipment, materials, etc. He'd get dump trucks, dozers, backhoes that he'd either resell or use for his own business. Nothing. Has never had a job. Inherited a bunch of money at 20 years old. Has never had to work. Shit, man. You don't need $1 million to do nothing. Take a look at my cousin. He's broke. Don't do shit. Ugh, gotta wake my ass up at 6 a.m. every day this week and drive up to Vasculitis. I'm doing drywall at the new McDonald's. Pastor of a mega church. Dude has a 10-bedroom home, a dream kitchen both inside outside the house, a theater, and every other luxury that I could imagine. Has guest pastors to cover up going on expensive vacations every couple of months, etc. He is the sole reason I became disillusioned with the church that I grew up in. Megachurch pastors were the original influencers. Hey man, did you already subscribe on me? You don't? Subscribe and press like faster. My ex-girlfriend from when I was 16. Her parents came from nothing and are worth about 50 million. All from houses, they bought rundown house, moved in and renovated. Sold it 6 months later, then rinse and repeat. They have 200 plus houses and a 3M mansion with pools, plural, horse riding fields, tennis courts. They build a recording studio in one of their outhouses for one of the kids. Crazy money. My dude, having money to buy houses is not coming from nothing. At one point in time, you could get a construction loan to buy a rundown property, fix it up, sell it for a profit, pay off the loan, rinse and repeat until you're able to buy the properties for cash. They were both working, and as I understand it, they just bought a cheap, shitty flat that needs everything doing, fully renovated it, and then sold it on. Back then, you could get 90% mortgages and flats would have been 60, 70K. Remember, they were buying old rundown flats, so probably 50K and then doing it up. In the UK, you don't pay many fees selling houses under a certain value, so yeah, they are completely self-made. Owns a small regional construction company. They do mostly smaller projects in the 300K3M range, but he does a lot of them and a bunch at once. He makes somewhere in the neighborhood of 150K a month. He's also kind of a shit businessman and runs his firm like a corn dog stand. I'll never understand his success, frankly. He's rich in spite of his best efforts not to be. He's a great guy, though, generous to a fault. He is successful because people like him, enjoy his way, and probably his honesty and generosity. They can feel he is a great guy, and so why not support him? I bet he honors his commitments and doesn't nickel and dime his clients. It's been my experience that many of the successful wealthy ones are not greedy, the way so many like to portray them. Especially here on Reddit. Most are grateful for their success and enjoy being able to help others, to give back, and to share what they have with family and friends. Not so much like handing out cash, but sharing things they have, or like taking them to big ball games or concerts, or even on vacation, or just always hosting gray aperitifs at their house. Pool, ECT. I know a few people who are so fucking cheap and tight, and on top of that, they actually will grab at anything free, plus even more. Always looking to get theirs and then some. And they make comments how they too should have done this or that, what they see others around them have done. And I let them talk, but I always feel like, no, never. They never would be successful because they're far too selfish and far too much always about themselves. Who the fuck would ever work for them? Put up with that. Richest person I know is the CEO of the company I work for. It's a very large company that you all have heard of. I can say I know him, and he knows me just on a professional basis. His salary is public record is $22M/year. Crazy how most people could retire off of what he makes in 2 months. My net worth is his 1 month salary. I have been at it 40 years. My annual income is basically what he makes a day. Bro, I would need to work 104 days to earn what he makes in just 1 hour. Real estate development. This guy I know buys up commercial properties, renovates them, and leases them out. It sounds straightforward, but the scale he operates is huge, and he always seems to be 2 steps ahead of the market. Depending how big you are, you control your local market. People can't really grasp this. In a county of 30,000 people, it's very possible that 6 families own every commercial property in the entire county, even the rundown ones, 100%. And I've lived in places where those families also had members in local government that were actively blocking outside commercial enterprises from coming in so that they could ensure the family-owned businesses didn't have competition. Nothing, not a goddamn thing. She lives off the interest alone of multi-generations of inherited wealth. She will make more money in an afternoon by renting out a vacation condo in Mexico than most people see in a lifetime. Yet she will invite you out to the most posh restaurant in New York or Chicago, and then, at the last second, split the tab, leaving you on the hook for $5,000, Lee Iacocca style. He was an orthopedic surgeon. I saw his tax return as I worked at the firm he got his taxes done. He also operated on me and fixed my ankle. Amazing surgeon, I will never tell his secrets, and he deserves every penny he gets. You left out the important info. How much did he make? Most orthopedic surgeons I know earn $500K, $2 million a year, so probably around that much. The surgeon my wife works for pulled in 1.4M, in a town of about 30,000 people. It's near a city, but most of their patients are rural. Surgery is big money for hospitals. Developed a specific type of resistor for elevators and monopolized the whole market, as the demand for them is quite high, or at least that's what they told me. Retired now, but he was a corporate lawyer handling land transfer deals for oil companies. I was busting his balls once about making too much. He said, "I only make 3%. He owns his own fishmonger business. In less than 5 years of opening his business, he is now a multi-millionaire. So he's into smuggling? It's called monging. Won a lawsuit for 100 mil for being given some medications as a kid that his lawyers were able to successfully link to his behavior problems growing up, and some other medical issues that formed. It's kind of wild too, because if you saw him and his family, you'd think they live in a trailer park in the mud and bang 2 sticks together for fun. You'd be right. But now he does that on a large plot of land with a house for each member of his close family, surrounded by a few $100K plus cars. Runs a consulting company. She founded it with another person. They built it up to about 30 consultants in the pharmaceutical area and then were bought out by a much larger company for just north of $100 million. 4 of the top 5 richest people I know are programmers at Epic Games. They are clearing $400K plus tilde a year before options and RSUs. One of them has been clearing $1,000, 000 plus a year since Fortnite launched. The 5th richest person I know is a project manager at Amazon. clearing a little over $550K plus tilde with total compensation annually. People in tech can clear ludicrous pay ceilings. The entry points and floor are typically lower, but once you've been in it and survived a while, making $150K plus is practically a guarantee. Inherited the patent on the pop top of cans. Basically gets a penny for every 12-pack sold. 16 years of patent law experience has me intrigued to say the least. Patents of the type you are describing typically have a 20-year lifespan. Curious how they inherited the patent. Additionally, the Stay on Tab, SOT design, has been around since 1975, and while entire corporations, Reynolds Aluminum being one, have made tiny modifications since then, no design updates have resulted in an entirely new patent. Commenter is either lying or being lied to. Top-level manager at an international company, lives with his wife and 2 kids in a 4-bedroom house, drives an older model Citroen. Dude can cook like a Michelin chef and does so every time he gets the chance. He's a coder, but all his money is family money. He makes a pretty modest living. But his parents gave him a fully paid-off house for a wedding gift. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe and comment, what does the richest person you know do for a living? Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.